Salutam from BA. This is the Rorschach Multilateral update from the 27th of August 2024, a summary of what's going down in the world's major multilateral institutions. To kick things off, NATO announced on Friday the 23rd that it had lowered the security alert at an air base in Germany following an overnight escalation triggered by a possible threat, previously set at security level Charlie, which signals a high probability of terrorist activity against NATO personnel or facilities based on received intelligence or recent incidents. The alert had led to the base operating with reduced staffing as a precaution while maintaining regular operations. Even though NATO did not elaborate on the threat, it was the second time the base had increased its security level recently. NATO has consistently warned of hostile actions, including sabotage and cyber attacks, allegedly conducted by Russia, which has frequently accused NATO of compromising its security. Moving on, Josep Borrell, the European Union's top diplomat, criticized Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro on Twitter on Saturday the 24th for failing to present the necessary public evidence to validate his alleged victory in the July elections. The EU, along with the United States and several Latin American nations, refused to recognize the court's endorsement. Authorities have once again urged Maduro to disclose the official tally sheets, which are considered the only reliable vote count in Venezuela because they are almost impossible to duplicate. Another multilateral organization, the Organization of American States, or OAS, also took issue with the Venezuelan election in a press release on Friday the 23rd. The OAS criticized Venezuela's National Electoral Council for declaring Maduro the winner after persistent voting irregularities. According to the OAS and other international organizations, the National Electoral Council allegedly presented voter data that was inconsistent and mathematically impossible. The OAS has a history of supporting democracies in the region by promoting dialogue, facilitating electoral observation missions, and providing technical assistance to strengthen democratic institutions. It has a framework to respond to democratic crises, offering mediation and conflict resolution services when governments face challenges like electoral disputes or unconstitutional actions. Additionally, the OAS can impose diplomatic pressure or sanctions on members that violate democratic principles, helping to uphold human rights and the rule of law across the Americas. In other news, Linda Thomas-Greenfield, the United States envoy to the United Nations, has signaled to the Security Council that a Gaza ceasefire plan is making progress. The United States ambassador to the UN urged Hamas to accept the plan on Thursday the 22nd. Specific details within the plan are being debated and are not publicly available. Thomas Greenfield emphasized that Israel has accepted the proposal and called for the unified international pressure on Hamas to do the same. Her remarks echo the stance of U.S. officials who assert that Israel is ready for a deal despite reports that Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been reluctant to accept a ceasefire. Next up, on Wednesday the 21st, Ukraine's parliament voted to join the International Criminal Court as the country seeks justice for Russian brutality towards Ukraine during the war. The International Criminal Court, responsible for prosecuting severe crimes like genocide and crimes against humanity, has the authority to issue arrest warrants that member countries are obligated to enforce. The African Union initiated a series of regional consultations to revamp nutrition policies and financing across Africa. The first event took place from Monday the 20th to Tuesday the 21st and built consensus on interventions to tackle issues like stunting, wasting, anemia, and obesity among vulnerable groups. Experts from sectors including healthcare, nutrition, and education from 9 West African countries attended the event, along with civil society organizations and development partners. Nutrition issues in Africa are primarily driven by poverty, limited access to healthcare, and food insecurity. Many populations face chronic malnutrition due to inadequate diets that lack essential nutrients, leading to stunted growth, weakened immune systems, and higher mortality rates, particularly among children. Reliance on staple crops with low nutritional diversity and the impact of climate change on agriculture exacerbate food shortages. Economic constraints and insufficient infrastructure further limit access to diverse, nutritious food, while social factors like conflict and displacement worsen food insecurity, making it difficult to address the complex nutritional challenges in the region. Also in Africa, Comoros has officially joined the World Trade Organization, or WTO, after 17 years of negotiation with its members for accession. The WTO granted approval for Comoros' accession last February, and the country's membership was finalized on Tuesday the 20th. The WTO Director General highlighted that this membership is expected to drive modernization and economic transformation and align with Comoros' goals for regional and integration across the African continent. For our final story on Africa, the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, denied a report that anticipated violence following elections in Ghana scheduled for December. In a press release from Thursday the 22nd, ECOWAS noted that a tabloid had accused the organization of expecting violence and instead said that Ghanaian democracy was strong. Ghana is a founding member of ECOWAS and often takes leadership role in the organization's initiatives, including conflict resolution, democracy promotion, and regional security efforts. On to Asia. On Thursday the 22nd, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries reported that Iraq and Kazakhstan have submitted updated plans to compensate for their excess oil production during the first 7 months of this year. Both nations have committed to addressing their overproduction by September 2025. Iraq's excess output totaled 1.5 million barrels per day between January and July, while Kazakhstan's surplus reached about 700,000 barrels per day. The Association of Southeast Asian States, or ASEAN, held a summit from Wednesday the 21st to Friday the 23rd to coordinate a plan to reduce violence against women and girls. Aided by several sub-organizations within the UN, including UNICEF and UN Women, the bloc plans to establish a thorough framework for developing coordinated national standard operating procedures to performance criteria to reduce the threat of these issues, involving key sectors like health, law enforcement, justice, and social services. In some health news, as the spread of a new outbreak of Mpox grows more severe, the World Health Organization, or WHO, has shed light on how the disease varies from COVID-19. Hans Kluge, the regional director for Europe at the WHO, explained on Tuesday the 20th that COVID was an unknown disease when it began to spread rapidly in 2020, whereas Mpox is a known illness. Even though it still poses a threat, treatments and vaccines are available, so the response will differ accordingly. However, in a statement released on Wednesday the 21st, the International Organization of Migration, or IOM, announced a call for almost $20 million in emergency funding. With an expected rise in Mpox cases, the IOM highlighted the urgent need for essential healthcare and support for vulnerable populations, that is, migrants, along with other marginalized and mobile groups, including those displaced by natural disasters and conflict. They are particularly vulnerable due to poor living conditions and the numerous obstacles they face in accessing medical assistance. Amy Pope, IOM's Director General, stressed the importance of swiftly protecting those most at risk and minimizing the outbreak's impact in the region. And that's it for this week. Thank you for joining us. We've been doing these updates for quite a while now, and we are curious. What do you think? Have you been tuning in with us from the start, or are you a recent listener? How did you find about us? We value your thoughts and would love to hear from you. Also, we are committed to keeping your updates ad-free. So if you enjoy them and would want to support us financially, there's a link in the show notes where you can contribute. If you can't do that, spreading the word about us would be amazing as well. Thank you. See you next week.